The Fifine Tank 3 is Fifine's latest flagship microphone, and I can't help but feel excited because it's not like new microphones just magically pop up every year. Every time Fifine releases a new microphone, I know it's a proactive effort of building on their past successes and failures. Just looking at that design, you know they've been innovating. But is the Fifine Tank 3 truly an improvement from last year's microphones, the Fifine K688 and the Fifine AM8? There's only one way to find out. Let the unboxing begin. And by the way, Fifine did send me the Tank 3, but everything I say in this video are my thoughts only. All right, let's open it up. Let's peel that. Moment of truth. Oh, there are 2 stickers. Ooh. Okay, so we got the manual. The mic's all covered up. And there she is. Comes with a USB Type-C to USB Type-A cable, and it comes with its very own XLR cable. This is an unusual decision for Fifine. They included XLR cables with their XLR-only mics like the Fifine K669D, but you don't normally get an XLR cable with, say, the Fifine K688 or the Fifine AM8. I think Fifine included the XLR cable because they're assuming that people buying this are power users who would buy this alongside an audio interface like the Fifine SC1 or at least upgrade later on. And this is a long XLR cable. The cable's almost as long as my studio, kind of like the cable that comes with the Fifine K669D. This could be the last XLR cable you'd need for years to come. Now for the mic itself. Oh wow. That is heavy. Is that an all-metal body? The knobs are plastic, but they are a very tough plastic. And so the microphone weighs 526 grams with the mount. For comparison, the Fifine AM8 weighs 579 grams with this very heavy base plate. Without the base plate, the Fifine AM8 is 399 grams. The Fifine K688 with a shock mount weighs 229 grams. So the Tank 3 lives up to its name, and it is a tank more than twice the weight of the Fifine K688. Both are metal, although the K688 feels a bit hollow and cheap. The Tank 3 is very solid. You don't hear any reverberation when tapping it. Now, there's one thing that surprised me a bit, and that's the fact that they did not include a base plate or a stand. Let's compare the Tank 3's size to the K669D just a little bit. You can see the K669D is wider and longer. The grills have a very similar design, and I should mention that the K669D is XLR only, so you need an audio interface. Whereas the Tank 3 comes with USB mode, so you don't need an audio interface. But you can improve its audio using one. Alright, let's take the Tank 3 out for a spin. Okay, so we've turned the mic on, and as you can see here, I've mounted it onto a generic boom arm. Even though this is about 500 grams, the boom arm is holding up well. Now, if you have the budget, I would recommend getting a more heavy-duty boom arm, because though this is working now, I suspect that the springs will be damaged in a couple of months using this setup. I was easily able to connect the Tank 3 to this boom arm with its 3/8" / 5/8" thread. Because it's already got 2 types of threading, you don't need an adapter. Let's go over the controls really quickly. There is a mute button here in case you want to mute yourself. And now I can hear myself again. There is quite a bit of wobble with the button. It is very dampened though, so it's not like it'll make a clicking noise. But after you press it, see, the button still kind of bounces back up, so there's a bit of noise introduced. So to the side, you have a gain knob for your mic volume. Okay, so this part is a bit tricky to film because the knobs are to the side rather than on the back or front. But over here you have the mic gain knob, which controls the volume of your sound. And here you have your headphone gain knob, which controls the volume of your headphones. So clearly you have an XLR port at the back of the mic, so you can connect this to an audio interface. But for now, we're using it in USB mode. Alright, so let's do a bunch of tests. Right now we're using the Fifine Tank 3 in USB mode, and let's compare its performance to when we're using it in XLR mode with the Fifine SC1. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Let's do 3 in a row. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. A bit of silence in USB mode. Now in XLR mode connected to the Fifine SC1. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Let's do a plosive test. Right in front of the mic. Pesky peas perpetuate problematic plosives. Step back a little. Pesky peas perpetuate problematic plosives. Step back a bit more. Pesky peas perpetuate problematic plosives. Exerting a lot of effort from this distance, pesky peas perpetuate problematic plosives. Continuing the plosive test with the Tank 3 now 45 degrees to my right, pesky peas perpetuate problematic plosives. Pesky peas perpetuate problematic plosives. Pesky peas perpetuate problematic plosives. Let's do a quick sibilance test. Sizzling sibilance sends sharp sounds. Sizzling sibilance sends sharp sounds. Sizzling sibilance sends sharp sounds. Just a general distance test. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Let's do a distance test maintaining the same speech volume. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Now let's do a distance test wherein I compensate the gain as I step back. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Now a distance test where I get louder as I step back. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Now for the noise rejection test. So my studio lights come with a fan. Let's see if the Tank 3 picks that up. Okay, let's do a quick keyboard test with my keyboard directly behind the microphone. Okay, let's see how it rejects my voice around the microphone. Okay, let's do a quick resonance test to see if the Tank 3 will pick up resonance from the boom arm. Let's swivel forward and backward. And up and down. Okay, let's do a quick AC noise test. Right now the AC is set to silent mode, and now let's turn that up to jet mode for maximum power and noise. Okay, can you hear that? Okay, with the AC running in the background, I'm going to talk over it, pointing the mic at it. And now let me talk over it a little. Can you still hear the AC? This is how the Fifine Tank 3 sounds with a low voice. And this is how the Fifine Tank 3 sounds with a medium voice. And this is how the Fifine Tank 3 sounds with a high voice. Now for the guitar test. Now guitar and vocals. This is how it sounds with vocals. How it sounds with vocals. Okay, we are back in USB mode to test the headphone amps in the Fifine Tank 3. Right now, my headphone gain is set to all the way up, and to my ear, this is sufficiently loud. There's a tiny bit of preamp noise still, but I'd have to say that is a tolerable level, and just to my ear, the headphone amps perform better than other USB mics I've tried. Okay, so now I'm listening to the headphone amps of the Fifine AM8, and compared to the Tank 3, I would say they perform similarly. Okay, so I've switched back to the Fifine Tank 3, and the signal is very weak. I would not recommend this setup. You will need to use low impedance headphones with this microphone. All right, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro 1, the Fifine Tank 3 has the second best plosive rejection of any Fifine mic. Second best because the K6690 has the best plosive rejection, but it doesn't have the same oomph as the Tank 3. I had to be very intentional about creating plosives for the Fifine K6690. With the Fifine Tank 3, I still get some plosives, but they aren't as intense as the plosives that I get from the K688 and the AM8, which create these massive spikes in your recordings. Just for comparison, both the K688 and the AM8 use an external windscreen, whereas the Tank 3's windscreen is internal. Pro 2, and this is a big one. The Fifine Tank 3 has the best noise rejection of any budget dynamic microphone that I have tried. The noise rejection is so intense that if I step back like this, it almost feels like I'm off axis and not pointing my mouth at the mic, but I am. And if I move to the side like so, there is a significant drop in my speaking volume. When I pointed the Tank 3 at my Studio Lights fan, it was barely picking it up. I'm just so impressed at how much this mic palpably rejects noise compared to other microphones. Pro 3, the Fifine Tank 3 has a balanced sound. So if you step back to somewhere over here, and just raise your gain like so, you don't really hear a lot of those harsh frequencies. Yes, you can hear the highs are boosted and it's very clear in spite of having an internal pop filter, but the highs are less harsh compared to, say, the Fifine K669D. Now, I wouldn't consider the highs sparkly like a condenser, but they are clear. Now, if you listen to the Fifine K688 and the AM8, they do have a bit more warmth, a bit more bass, but especially with the K688, people commented about how muffled it sounded. The AM8, not as muffled, so the Tank 3 isn't quite as warm as those mics, but you can add even more of that as you get closer to the microphone. Yeah, I can tell that the bass isn't as prominent. It is a bit mid-forward. So in short, this isn't the kind of mic that's gonna make listeners go, wow, that is such a deep, silky, smooth sounding mic. It is on the smoother side while still sounding articulate, but I have to say that there are no glaring flaws. Pro 4, the Fifine Tank 3 comes with a very long XLR cable, kind of like the Fifine K6690. Pro 5, the Fifine Tank 3 has an excellent signal-to-noise ratio. So I've talked about how the noise rejection is the best I've heard in a budget dynamic mic. Well, there's some magic to that. Combine these three things, the fact that it rejects noise so well, the fact that it has a very narrow sweet spot just for your voice, and the fact that it has low noise preamps, you get the formula for a microphone that makes your voice sound this loud while you only have this much noise. Except for the fact that it's only 16-bit, this is the kind of signal-to-noise ratio performance you could expect from, say, a $200 interface plus a $200 microphone, and you're only getting it for $100. Or less. Pro 6, the Fifine Tank 3 has a professional look. No RGB, very sleek. It has a slimmer profile than the Fifine K688, but it really does feel like a tank. The metal grille hardly has any give to it. Knobs and mute button aside, it's got an all-metal body, and I don't think the design was ripped off any particular microphone, which is great because it finally feels like Fifine is creating its own identity. You know, the K688 kind of reminds us of the SM7B. A lot of people compare the AM8 with a Blue Sona. The Tank 3 maybe roughly reminds me of the Earthworks Icon, but even then it's a bit of a stretch. Yeah, the grill pattern doesn't necessarily remind me of the RE20, and I absolutely love how minimal the branding is. Like, where is the word Fifine? Try to find it. It's right here. And I truly love how the knobs are to the side. That's a design that I've been craving for. Because as you can't see, the knobs are over here. I mean, compare these two mics. This is just much more premium looking and premium feeling. This is kind of a glossy-ish matte-ish, somewhere in between metal, but this is definitely matte. This is the best looking Fifine mic I have seen to date. And pro number 7, the Fifine Tank 3 has no cable problems. For those of you who didn't know, the Fifine K688 and AM8 had a certain batch wherein the cables were not working with the mics. So I am just so glad that these mics are now working straight out of the box. Let's talk about the cons. Con 1, the Fifine Tank 3 does not include a stand or base plate. Now that's just me being picky because not even the K688 included a stand or base plate. They kind of spoiled us with the AM8, which included that. However, there is a pro to that con. It means we are paying more for the microphone than we are paying for accessories. You can always just buy a mic stand or boom arm. Con 2 of the Fifine Tank 3, you have to be close to the mic. And see what I mean? This whole time I just kind of forgot that I was stepping back and that I preferred to be this close. Just being 2 fingers away from the mic versus being 5 fingers away from the mic makes a massive volume difference. So yes, it is the best at noise rejection to my ear, but the natural consequence of that is that you have to be more deliberate with your mic technique. Personally, I think the trade-off is worth it. Con 3 of the Fifine Tank 3, you do not get a warm sound. I'm a bit spoiled now with how warm the AM8 and the K688 sounded. Then again, they had more concerns in terms of muddiness, sibilance, boxiness, other things you do not want to hear in a mic. Again, the Tank 3 does get rid of a lot of those problematic frequencies, but you do have to be very close to the mic if you want a bit more of that warmth. Con 4. It is 16-bit. You've probably heard me say this in every Fifine review that I've done to date. 16-bit. It is 2024. And we've been stuck with 16-bit Fifine microphones for as long as I can remember. And I'm sure that Fifine has already heard this feedback countless times from other creators as well, but Fifine, please give us a 24-bit microphone. I suppose the way they prioritize their sound makes sense. Have a lower noise floor while having a louder signal. I think it's brilliant that Fifine developed their mics in such a way that they would get the most return for their effort. But I'm now of the opinion that Fifine mics have gotten so much better frequency-wise, preamp noise-wise, even headphone amp noise-wise, and all we're really waiting for is 24-bit. Again, Fifine, really looking forward to your 24-bit audio interface and microphone. So, do I recommend the Fifine Tank 3? I can recommend it for podcasters, streamers, and gamers having trouble with soundproofing. This will not eliminate your need for soundproofing, but if you're going to pick one mic on the sole basis of noise rejection, the Tank 3 is the way to go. Now, for singers, I'm a little hesitant to recommend the Fifine Tank 3 because it's going to have a hard time picking up both your voice and the guitar at the same time. And again, it doesn't have the most beautiful tone. Maybe go with the Fifine AM8 for that. Now, you may want to get it as a singer if you add the Fifine SC1. That's because the SC1 has a dedicated instrument input right here, so you can plug in your guitar and sing into the Tank 3. However, I cannot recommend using the SC1 audio interface together with the Tank 3 for the sole purpose of improving audio quality, because the difference in audio quality between using the Tank 3 in USB mode and switching to the SC1 for XLR mode is negligible, if present at all. I think the SC1 would be more suited to complement the K669D, unless you want to use the Tank 3 with an instrument. Overall, the Fifine Tank 3 is the pinnacle of Fifine's trial and error and market research. It's got incredible noise rejection, incredible plosive rejection, a very balanced sound, beautiful aesthetics. I am of the opinion that the Fifine Tank 3 is currently the best deal in audio in the $89 to $100 price category. And so far, it's quickly become my favorite microphone of the year. What did you think of the Fifine Tank 3? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Also, if you want to grab the Fifine Tank 3, I will leave a link in the description. I'll see you guys in this video.